Bullets and horses. In the house the frontier family ate, the sons with the newspaper near, their voices like one plank rubbing against another. From the barn the horse had an opinion. Here, make a horse noise. Yeah, something like that. The daughter stared at her potatoes. There were two of them. Which to eat first? The ghost helpfully pointed to one of the potatoes. But was he right? The ghost pretended to sit at the table, a look of enterprise on his face, determined to, quote, eat. After a while, Pa stuck his knife in the table. Doing. The ghost stood up, turned around, reached, took down his iron, looked at it, sat down next to rags and oil and cleaned it. Ma looked out the red window and saw trouble boiling out of the distance. She worried Pa, and he glanced. Yep, raiders. The ghost reached for bullets and, quote, loaded the appliance. He snapped his iron closed and spun the cylinder. Pa turned his head and held his hand to his eyes. The raiders arrived, their horses turned around in the yard, their haunches appearing in the window. Pa got up, walked, opened the door. Squinch. He showed on the porch. His iron was with him, perky in his hand. The ghost got up and ambled out. He sat down on the edge of the porch just kind of slow and easy. Behind his shoulder, Ma's shotgun peeked out from the shadow of the door. In the yard, the raider boss, Jeff Barney, was continuing a yelled conversation with the other outlaws. He had killed enough in his recent spree to gain respect from the other wild psychopaths, but lost it by asking too many questions and by occasionally quoting Shakespeare. Out on the trail between crimes, with the horse bouncing him up and down, he had yelled, "Hamlet was right, or was he wrong?" He frowned and shook his head to get his thoughts right. That didn't work. He reached for his gun, extracted it, and shot at something, anything, a rock. Ping! He asked Pa, "Settler, what can I do now that I'm so turned around?" Pa waved his hand disgustedly. "There can't be questions in a story like this." Barney turned to Ma. She muttered and lowered her shotgun. Barney turned to the ghost, who wasn't there. Barney fell off his horse. Picture of Pa glowering, overvoice. Pa later died from an overdose of cornbread. Picture of the son sitting at the table and holding newspapers, overvoice. The sons argued themselves to death. Their coffins were made of political planks. They couldn't be helped after that. Picture of the daughter looking slowly from one potato to the other. Overvoice. After failing to understand the potatoes, the daughter turned to religion, but discovered there were many religions. She went to town and got stuck in the street between two churches. Nearby, Jeff Barney walked backwards into a saloon. Unfortunately, the daughter noticed this new angle to things. Was it a choice between two or a choice between three? And was the answer really to be found at the bottom of a whiskey bottle? Picture of the ranch house. Ma shakes her head. In the background, the ghost shrugs and moves his mouth. Ma says, "I know what you mean." Overvoice. Sometimes in the American West, when the sun goes down, a mystery remains. There are ballads. that will never have an ending. Others don't have a beginning, but have two endings. Others are without middles. If you think about it, it's kind of messed up.